Hey everyone, welcome back to GreyWolftowers again. So today's video, we finally managed to get a 50 series graphics card. I was hoping for a 5080 or even a 5090, however, those have been so outlandishly expensive that I'm just not gonna try. My 4080 Super is pretty much almost comparable with a 5080. It's like a 5 to 10% difference from what I've seen, so I'm not gonna pay $1,500 plus to upgrade that little small mount. I will, however, get this card here, and I'll probably end up taking this one and swapping either the wife's 6950 XT or the son's 6900 XT out for this. Not because I like nvidia over AMD. The AMD cards are great. They are actually amazing for the price. So they have 16 gigs in those cards, and they're almost comparable with this one, or slightly even better in some areas. But there are some features that this will give to them that will allow my wife or my son, whoever I end up giving it to use DLSS or other things. And in fact, they'll even have multi-frame gen, which I don't have access to on my 4080 Super. However, I don't use DLSS at all, but it will also give them better frame rates for ray tracing, which they may end up exploring a little bit. And that's where the main reason for this is that with ray tracing on in some games, like we have Hogwarts Legacy, for example, if we turn on ray tracing, it drops the frame rate on those older 6900, 6950 XTs. Whereas on the 4080 Super, it still drops it, but not nearly as drastically. And on here, it should be even less drastic of a drop. So that will be where the main focus for this is whichever one ends up wanting to do the ray tracing more is where I'll end up putting the card. It does, however, have the requirement of a 12 VH PWR cable, which I will show you the spot, but it also comes with an adapter, so we should be good there. However, I wanted to go ahead and give you a look. This is the lowest cost one that I could find. It ran $610. I got it on Best Buy only because it was the only place I could actually find one available. They do periodically show up on Amazon, which I'll try and put a link down below in the description for those of you that are interested. It'll be an affiliate link, which means they will give me, I don't know, it's like 1% kickback or whatever off of it. Doesn't add to you, it just gives me a little something to help with the channel. However, I only suggest buying it at the $600 to $650 range. Do not spend over $650 for it. So let's go ahead and see what we get for our $610 plus tax, which for me came out to roughly $650 total. So on the one side, it gives you the information, the fact that it was shipped by Best Buy, and it gives the label for the serial number and things like that, which are needed for warranty. On this side, you just have the regular label stuff, Gigabyte brand. This is the standard Gigabyte Windforce OC, so it is not one of the higher end cards. My understanding is it does not have any RGB on it, so it's just a plain black card with some stickers on it and some writing, but we will double check and look at that. I did open it a little bit to see if it was sealed. It is not sealed on the outer box. And on the inner box, it does have Gigabyte emblazoned here, which is nice. Again, not sealed here either. You do get a graphics card quick guide, which is going to tell you basics of how to install it. Basically, you insert it after taking the back I/O port covers off. You insert it and boom, you're done. It does have foam instead of cardboard, which is nice. You do get a 2 8-pin to 1 12 VH PWR adapter, which if I put it in my wife's, I'll have to use because she has a slightly older 1000 watt power supply. It's more than powerful enough for this. However, it's old enough. It actually came out about 1 month before the 12 VH PWR adapters came out for the, was it 30 series or whatever. So it's not terribly old of a model. That specific power supply is even newer than the 30 series. I got it late in the 6000/3000 series releases. probably a month before 40 series supercards dropped, but it was on sale because it was the older model, and so I had that for my 6950 XT, and I was going to use it with my 4080 Super, and then I was like, you know what, I just want a 12 VH PWR cable directly from the power supply, so I went and bought a brand new power supply about a month into having that power supply. And so I passed that one down to the wife with the 6950 XT. Now the son does have a 12 VH PWR adapter to his power supply that we built the system in the Height Y70 case. So I may end up just giving it to him since he already has that adapter built into the power supply. I don't have to use this janky adapter and risk a fire. But that is all that comes in it, is the adapter and the graphics card. Now the graphics card does come with a seal, actually 3 in this case. 3 pieces of tape sealing it shut. And they are seals from Gigabyte, so that's a good sign. And when you tear them, they do tear where they leave residue to show that it has been opened, so you can't, you know, I mean, I probably could have cheated the system and like used a hot air gun or something, heat gun, but I'm not going to do that. Like I said, I plan on giving it to somebody in the family. So the fans do not have any RGB. They do say Gigabyte on each of the fan blades, and they have a little bit of accent paintwork here. It does say Gigabyte here, Windforce here. Theoretically, this might be some RGB, but I don't think it is. And if it is, it's 4 little slashes, that's it. Nothing else is RGB on that. On the back plate, which I'm 99% sure is plastic, you have the serial number, which is a sticker. You've got GeForce RTX up here. You've got a little bit of a painted design and Gigabyte over here. You've got HDMI Gigabyte here on the X16 finger. It is an X16 finger. So, and it is PCIe 5, not PCIe 4. You do have 3 display ports and 1 HDMI port on the back. They should all be 2.1s, if I remember correctly. I'll correct that down here or up here if I am incorrect. But the display ports should be 2.1s. They may, however, be 1.4As, and the HDMI should be a 2.1. Now, that being said, if you only have DisplayPort on your monitor, or if you have DisplayPort 1.4A and HDMI 1.4 or 1.2 or whatever it was, go with the DisplayPort. If you have HDMI 2.1 on your monitor, use the HDMI, period. It is higher performance. It will push more frames. It will be clearer. It will do you better. That will result in lower FPS if you go through the display ports. Even if it's DisplayPort 2.1, you will still lose a little bit of bandwidth on that, and so you'll get, at the very least, you'll lose some frames on the higher frame rate refreshes, mostly on the higher than 240, but still, just use the HDMI 2.1 if you have an HDMI 2.1 monitor. You will get the best possible performance in that situation. So, that aside, we have a mostly black with accent video card. If you're sitting it down, it does not look too bad. If you're doing this way, it still does not look too bad. However, I think this kind of looks kind of cheesy. So, my own personal preference, I will say, if you're going to put it this way, should be good to go. If you're going to be putting it vertical, may or may not be the best video card. But it does have a decent and hefty heatsink. The PCB seems to be about half the size of the heatsink, so it should be really good to go. It is 3 fans, but they are smaller fans. It says SFF on the box, which means small form factor or slim form factor, but this is not a slim form factor. This is a full height. It is just standard full height. It's not the like 4090s where something like this big, whereas this is the standard height of a regular one. It is, I'm going to say 2.5. It's probably technically 2 slots in width, but I'm going to say expect 2.5. So go, make sure you have at least 3 slots of space if you're putting it like this or like this. That way you have at least a little bit of space for the fans to run and they're not getting clogged and jammed up. So that aside, so it is a pretty decent performance. It is a slight improvement over the 40 series. However, it is not this is not going to compete with your 4090s. So do not buy this if you think that it's going to perform like a 4090 just because NVIDIA said so. This card, and I will never get NVIDIA cards sent to me directly because I will not just be a shill for them. This will not give you the same frame rate as a 4090. Now, the caveat to that whole thing is that NVIDIA says that with multi-frame generation active, which gives you 4 times the frames, you will get 4090 level performance with this. Essentially what it's saying is that 4090 to 5070 raw performance, you're looking at about 50%, half the performance. So if you're using DLSS on the 4090 card and you get 60 FPS, you'll get 30 on this, but you'll get 60 FPS on the 4090. With DLSS active, you'll get 120. This, with the multi-frame generation at 30 normal frames per second, will give you 120. So you will see the number say 120 when using multi-frame generation. You will get lower quality, and people have said multiple times through multiple sets that it will oftentimes make you sick because your brain is seeing the number of frames of 120 generated frames, but it's interpreting them as if it was 30. So your mind is only actually getting the quality of 30 frames, but interacting as if it's getting 120, and so it's making you feel weird and sick in some cases. So you want to be careful and keep an eye on that. That aside, whether you get sick from it or not, the key is that raw performance about 50% of the 4090. With regular DLSS, which some games do not accept multi-frame generation DLSS 4, you will only have 30 turned into a 60. So you'll not be seeing the 120 that you get with DLSS on a 4090. With the multi-frame generation support with DLSS 4 specifically, in the few games that currently have that access, you would get the 120 FPS that you get with the regular DLSS. So that aside, this is what you get for roughly $600 to $650 if you get it for actual price. Now, tariffs coming in may raise that price. I don't know. Currently, when I bought it in early May or late April of 2025, it was $610 plus tax, which my tax is 6 3/4%. So it came to roughly $40-ish, like $42 in tax, which equates to roughly $650-ish. So if you're in the market for a card, can get it below $650 before tax, it's not a bad way to go. If you're looking for this card and willing to pay more than that, I don't suggest it. The 5070 Ti should only be, in my opinion, around $750-800 range, but they've been selling for like $1,200, and I'm not spending. I didn't even spend that much on my 4080, which beats the 5070 Ti. So I'm not going to spend it on a 5070 or a 5070 Ti. So, but all of that aside, I hope that this video helps you to determine if this is the right card for you, especially appearance-wise. If it did, make sure that you hit the like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button over in this general area here to keep up to date on our new videos and our community section. And as always, if you have any questions about myself, the channel, or the product, make sure you leave those down below in the comments section. So thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.